Let's see what happens if I try to press out this starter clutch crap from this clutch that doesn't work. Well, that's easy. Oh crap, that's easy. Huh. Bearing's just about to come out the back. I don't want it to like crash on the floor or something. Oh yeah, it's coming now. Now, the whole entire thing. Oh crap, a cam just fell on the floor. Anyways, the whole thing just came out. Oh shit. And it seems to be loaded with grease, which I know is a no-no. So I'm going to take this apart and clean it up a little bit and try to put it back together, and we'll see if it works. Well, I got the clutch apart, and it seems like the problem is that this bearing on the bottom is like totally shot. Doesn't even want to spin. So I'm going to try to put some PB Blaster in there and see if that does the trick. But the springs are good. It feels like it's actually getting better as I sit here and spin it. But worst case, I think I'm going to have to get a new bearing for this bottom one. But the top bearing is fine. The springs are fine. There's all 21 cams are there, and they seem fine. So again, I think that really the issue is that this bottom bearing is just a little bit locked up. So I got this other clutch over here. This one here is frozen also. So you do one thing at a time, but I think this bearing is definitely the culprit. Now I don't know if I can buy this at Tractor Supply or something. If it's like 10 bucks for the bearing, I'm just going to get it and not even bother to dick around. But for now, I'm just going to load it up with some PB Blaster tonight, and we'll check it out in the morning. Well, I just put one little squirt of PB Blaster on there, and it turns like brand new. So that being said, I do not need a bearing. That's great news. And it really is working great. So I guess what I got to do now is just press this pile of crap back together and call it a day. But not a big deal, huh? Yeah, that's amazing. One little squirt. The thing spins like brand new. So anyways, what I'm going to do is I'll clean up all the cams real nice, and then I will press it all back together. That'll be for another day. Alright guys, so I thought I'd work on this starter clutch for the Model L here, and the bearings were frozen on this thing, so I ended up just taking the whole thing apart, cleaning it out, and I'm going to put it back together with my press here. So I've cleaned out this inside here pretty well, and I put the snap ring in on the bottom, and what the instructions tell you to do is to press this in all but an inch deep, or in other words, just press it in so that we can essentially get our 21 cams in there. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put the cams in here before I press it in, and I'm going to put a rubber band around them and hope that that will hold them in place, and that will allow me to press it in. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to get it in enough to get that bottom bearing in right now, and then we will do the rubber band ordeal next. So let's see. Every time I do this, I have a problem with the cams falling out. It's the first time I've done it with a press. all the other times I tried to like either hammer it in or do it in a vise, and it was a pain in the butt. So I'm confident that this press is going to make my life a heck of a lot easier. So, like I said, I'm just going to press this bearing in. Whoa. There we go. Perfect. That should be right where we want it. And I'm going to put the 21 cams in there. And this is spinning nice, so we should be in pretty good shape here. This is great. Alright, I'll report back after I get the cams in place. Now, when you put the cams in, there's actually 21 cams that go in there. And what I do is I put a glob of grease around the center there, which helps them stick into it. And then when you put the cams in, you'll notice that there's a point on one side and a half round on the other. If you look at the, there's instructions called servicing the starter clutch. They tell you to put in the point side going clockwise and the half round counterclockwise. So you got to be careful that you're putting them in the right direction. And then it's just a matter of putting all 21 of these stupid things in there. I always like to make sure they're nice and clean before they go in, so that there's no dust or grime or any kind of crap in there. And it does take a little bit of patience to do this. It's not rocket science, but it does take a little patience. So we'll make sure that all 21 are in there, and that all 21 are oriented the right direction. When you get to like the last cam, that's when it's tough to put in that last one. But you just got to take your time and work them in, and you'll get it done. So that's really how it goes here. You know, I probably got 10 of them in or so already. Now, I do have the springs are in there. The cams go on top of the two springs, and most of the clutches that I've taken apart, the culprit was either the bearings were burnt out or the springs were broken. This one here, the bearings are frozen, and it turns out that you can soak them in PB Blaster for, it didn't even take a long time, it's probably like an hour, and it freed up. But I took it apart anyways. So, let's see here. Clean this up. Every time I put a cam in, it gets a little tougher to put the next one in because it's putting tension on that spring. Oh, one just fell out. Like I said, the tension on the spring is starting to build now, so every time I put one in, it wants to shoot one out more or less on the other side. So I still have about 8 left to put in, so we'll see how that goes. 4 left. And my spring is starting to bulge now. So it's going to get even tougher every time I put one in here. Let's see. What I actually need is something to move the spring with. I just have a little finishing nail here, which will fit in there fine. And that should allow me to finagle it a little bit. Alright, now I'm down to 2. And the last one is going to be the tough one. Well, maybe the last one will be easy. So, let's see. There we go. Alright, now, they're all in there. Let me get my rubber band. I'll give you a close-up here. So, we've got those cams in there, and you see they're starting to pop out here on the back. So I'm going to take a rubber band and wrap it around them before I bring it back to the press. And hopefully that will prevent them all from falling out when they start pressing it in. And then I'll pull the rubber band off when we get in. Alright guys, so I've got my rubber band around these cams here. And I'm going to try to pull it all the way up to the top. And I'm just going to start to press it in. And we'll see what happens. You got to press it in just so that the bearing bottoms out on the retainer. You know, that is the bottom bearing bottoms out on the bottom retainer. And now that I've got it mostly in, I'm gonna grab that rubber band and pull it straight up because those cams are staying in there just fine. And I'll just keep pressing this sucker. Oh, we're almost there. That's it. And you'll know you're in the right place because you'll have just enough room here for the top snap ring to press in. Now, look at that. It's working perfect. It'll engage to turn over the engine going this way, and this way it will freewheel. So we are in good shape, guys. Another job done. Hope you learned something.